Good day. Thank you for tuning in to this 2016 General Election Candidate Forum for Superior Court Judges. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County and TCTV. The League is a nonprofit organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in their government. The League neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties. We are nonpartisan. The League registers new voters, studies issues, and advocates for its positions with the legislature. Despite its name, the League is open to both men and women of voting age. I'm Elliot Weinstein from the League, and I'll be moderating this forum. The candidates for Superior Court Judge Position 1 are Chris Lanise and Laura Murphy. For this forum, candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Then I'll ask them questions in alternating order. The person first asked the question will have 2 minutes for a response, followed by 1 minute from the other candidate. There will be 1 minute for closing statements at the end. We'll begin with opening statements from the candidates, beginning with Chris Lanise.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Chris Lanise, and I am running for Superior Court Judge because I am firmly committed to serving our community, and the most direct way I can do that is by being your next Superior Court Judge. I grew up in a family of modest means, where at times my mother, with only a high school education, was the primary breadwinner. My family taught me the importance of hard work and service to others. So I worked hard and put myself through Dartmouth College and Harvard Law School. I began my career by serving low-income families in a legal services center and family court at no cost to them. I then moved to private practice, representing individuals and business owners in a wide array of cases, ranging from the largest patent infringement case in United States history to simple contract disputes between 2 individuals. But my heart has always been in public service. So after several years, I moved to serve the public at the Washington Attorney General's office. I am currently a managing assistant attorney general, handling complex cases ranging from Superior Court jury trials to argument before the Supreme Court. For many years now, my job has remained almost exclusively focused on trial work and complex cases in Superior Court in Thurston County, the very cases I would be called upon to preside over if elected. These are the types of cases that will affect your life even if you never step foot in the courtroom, and it is critically important that we elect Superior Court judges with this experience. I've also been deeply committed throughout my career to ensuring that justice through our court system is available to everyone regardless of income. And I've been a leader at the state level and county level in this work. I helped pass a court rule that eliminated barriers to our court system. I am currently spearheading an effort in Thurston County to increase the provision of pro bono legal aid in family law cases. And I've personally provided thousands of hours of pro bono legal work to families in need at no cost to them. I've been recognized on numerous occasions by the Supreme Court and the Attorney General for this work, and I am firmly committed to continuing that work if elected. Thank you.
Ms. Murphy.
I'm Laura Murphy, and I'm running for this position because I care. I care about our community, the families, and our neighbors. I grew up here in Thurston County on a ranch just outside of town, 180 acres, and we had horses and cattle, you name it, rabbits, chickens. I learned a strong work ethic. I attended local schools, graduating from Olympia High School. I also attended South Puget Sound Community College and graduated from St. Martin's University. I attended Seattle University School of Law because I was raising my 2 children, my 2 sons, who also attended Reeves, Olympia High. And so I know our community. I believe this position, this judicial position, when elected, is someone we're selecting. We're selecting this person to make decisions about our families, if it's a parenting plan or child support. We're selecting someone to make a decision about our children, whether it's children in need of services, and we're selecting someone to make decisions about our public safety. Whether someone will be arraigned, bail will be set. These are important decisions, and ones that should be made by someone who's familiar with our community and who knows the needs of our community, whether it's military families serving our country, or whether it's the downtown population or the rural area. It's important. I've over 20 years of experience in criminal law, prosecution, and law enforcement. I'm asking for your vote as I am the most experienced and best qualified with over 10 years as a judge pro tem and a recently appointed Superior Court Commissioner. Thank you.
We will start now with the questions for the Superior Court judge position. And I'm going to start with Ms. Murphy. What do you seek to accomplish as a Superior Court judge?
Well, as I just indicated, I have extensive experience both in the courtroom and on the bench. But there's so much more to being a Superior Court judge. There's a number of programs right now that are in need of attention. Our pretrial services, that's the agency that ensures that our individuals who are out on bail or who are released on their recognizance, that they're coming to court, that they're being monitored. They are grossly understaffed. There's 2 individuals in an office where it was determined they needed 5 individuals. And that's important because that increases the backlog in our courts when these individuals don't show up in court, when they don't have a court date, or don't know of their court date, So that's one area that I'm very concerned about. Another area has to do in family law, and that is our court facilitators. They assist people who are of modest means or who are attempting to go through that system on their own. We have 2 court facilitators, and at times we're down to 1 court facilitator. Pierce County has 74. So I've developed some ideas on how to increase those numbers by using students, maybe from the law school or through the paralegal program, in externs and internships. This is a real important area, especially when we're dealing with individuals who don't know how to navigate the legal system and who are looking to get funds to their household, perhaps child support, and they don't have that option if they can't afford representation.
Thank you. Your reply is 1 minute. Mr. Lanise.
Thank you. There are 3 things I'd like to accomplish if elected in terms of my priorities. The first is simply to be the best Superior Court judge possible, working harder than anyone else, remaining intellectually curious, and making sure that I make the best decisions possible. The second is to continue my work, as I referenced earlier, about access to justice issues, to make sure that no one's income level or social status is a barrier to accessing justice through our court system. And lastly, I believe that we can do a better job as a court in terms of collaborating with our local nonprofit partners in the community. We have a wealth of nonprofits in Thurston County that serve people in some of the lowest points in their lives. And for better or for worse, many of the people who come to Thurston County Superior Court end up coming at those lowest moments in their lives. And so I think if we can collaborate and synergize with those local nonprofits, such as the Family Support Center and Safe Place, 2 organizations I've been very involved in personally, I think that we can much better serve the people who come to court in Thurston County.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question, and Mr. Lanise, you will go first and have 2 minutes. How is being a Superior Court judge in Thurston County different from being a Superior Court judge in any other county in Washington State? Please give specific examples.
Well, that's a great question. Over 80% of the cases filed in Thurston County over 80% of the cases filed in Washington State against the state of Washington are filed in Thurston County Superior Court. Those are cases that have far-reaching implications for people not only in Thurston County but also statewide. These are things such as challenging the constitutionality of statutes, things such as ballot title initiative challenges, things that can only be brought in Thurston County Superior Court. And those are the types of cases that I'm uniquely well qualified to handle as a Superior Court judge, because I'm the only candidate who has experience handling those complex cases due to my position as a managing assistant attorney general. In addition to handling these types of cases both in Superior Court and before the Supreme Court, I've had the honor of serving for many years now on the Attorney General's Opinions Committee, which is a committee of some of the top lawyers in the Attorney General's office, drafting, researching, and formulating high-quality judicial-like opinions on issues that have far-reaching implications across our state. We are uniquely situated in Thurston County Superior Court in terms of needing to address those issues, and that's why we must have a candidate who has that experience so they can hit the ground running and make sure once we come to the bench in 2017, immediately following this election season, we are well equipped to handle the fallout from this election and for years to come additional issues.
Thank you. Ms. Murphy.
Thurston County is unique in that we have a very wide-based population. We have our military families that are largely located in North County. We have the rural areas which pose transportation issues and transportation problems. And being aware of that, we also have to recognize that in our military cases and some of our other agencies, any kind of criminal charge can adversely impact and especially impact their ability to serve. I think it's important to recognize those challenges and not indicate that those are an excuse, but simply to recognize the situation. So being aware of our community, understanding the individuals in it and their needs, I think is one of the most important. And Thurston County is unique in that way, not just on the cases that come before the court, but on the people that come before the court.
Thank you. We will now go to the next question, and Ms. Murphy, you will go first. What is the role of public policy in the job of a Thurston County Superior Court judge?
Public policy can be described in a number of ways. I think that the most important job of a judge is to make clear decisions and to follow the law. Public policy may have an influence on individuals, may influence those outside of the courtroom, but the current state and the current situations in the news are not to form a bias with those judges. It's important that our judicial officers are fair, balanced, and impartial. And that's why, just as with the League of Women Voters, as you mentioned, we're nonpartisan. We're not Democrat, we're not Republican, or anything in between. So public policy, following the law to ensure that it's a clear and concise ruling is important, as I said, without that bias.
Thank you. Mr. Lanise, your turn to respond.
And I would agree with what much of Ms. Murphy just said. Public policy has no role in the courtroom when a judge is sitting on the bench deciding a case before him or her. We are to follow the law as the legislature has promulgated and as the Supreme Court has interpreted. There's no role for personal bias or opinion as to what the law should be. However, there are opportunities for judges to influence public policy, as the canons of judicial conduct allow us to lobby outside the courtroom for changes that affect the administration of justice. Those are things that relate to access to justice issues, that relate to the fair administration of cases in the courthouse, and those public policy issues we must remain on the forefront of to make sure that we are in tune with the best research as to how to handle cases, and that's something that I'm firmly committed to doing if elected.
Thank you. Mr. Lanise, you will get the next question first. It's somewhat related to the last one. How do you define judicial activism? Do you think it is a problem? Why or why not? And you can give an answer both ways, both of you, if you like.
Thank you. Judicial activism is when judges decide cases in the courtroom not based upon what the law is or what the facts have presented, but what the judge thinks either the law should be but is not, or what they think the outcome of the case should be regardless of what the law and the facts say. I think that we're very fortunate in Thurston County to have a Superior Court bench for many years now of the utmost integrity that has not suffered from judicial activism locally. I think there's always that risk, though, because judges are always presented in cases where, although the law might be clear, the judge might be in a situation at a trial where they might admit certain types of evidence to help favor one side or the other, types of things that typically will fly under the radar in terms of the newspaper accounts of a case, but are deeply impactful to the parties in those cases and to the outcome of those cases in ways that people may never see. That's something that as an attorney I remain vigilant against throughout my career. If elected, I will continue those efforts to make sure not only that I would not do that, but to make sure that I would help educate others as to how to avoid those situations as well.
Thank you. Ms. Murphy, do you want me to repeat the question since it's a three-tier question?
Yes, please.
Certainly. How do you define judicial activism? Do you think it is a problem? Why or why not? And you can also give examples in both ways. Thank you.
In Thurston County, I don't believe that judicial activism is a problem at this time. However, I think that, as indicated by Mr. Lanise, I agree with that. We need to be very wary. The law it's not always black and white, but I think as attorneys, we've all had that opportunity when we come into the courtroom and we have briefed the issue, we have prepared the court, and especially in criminal law, there is a basis where the judicial officer, the judge, is to apply the facts to the elements. And I think many attorneys have had that opportunity when they come in and have observed the judge do something completely different. That's frustrating, and that is a form of judicial activism when they see a result that they would like to have that is not followed by the law. Judges, we expect to follow the law, to apply common sense when they're following the law. And so I think it's always important to be aware of that and to ensure that each case is resolved in a fair and impartial manner.
Thank you. Ms. Murphy, you will get the next question first. Do you see a Superior Court judge's role as that of educating the public about the scope of his or her judicial power? Why or why not?
Yes, as judicial officers, we are expected to have to engage with the public, to educate, and that's also offered through the bar associations. And so when you term it as power, I'd like to consider it more as though discretion or applying the law. Each individual who comes before the court should be treated in a respectful manner. And I think part of that is going to be when, as a judicial officer, you're in the community, you're engaging with individuals. I've been a pro tem judge for 10 years and a Superior Court commissioner. A lot of the work that I do with the nonprofits, volunteering my time, has to do with explaining exactly what happens when individuals come in the court. And this is in all walks of life. So I think that every individual needs to seize that opportunity and educate those around us, not just in a formal setting, but also in those informal settings, especially as it applies to our judicial officers.
Thank you. Mr. Lanise.
Thank you. I think it's critically important that Superior Court judges take advantage of every opportunity to help educate the public as to the role of the courts in our society. There's multiple different ways you can do that. I've learned during my thousands of hours of pro bono service during my career that a very important way is the care that must be taken when judges are handling cases where one party or both parties are not represented by attorneys. Being able to explain to those individuals, those pro se litigants, how the system works and making sure they feel as though their case has been heard fairly is critically important and is a major step in terms of educating the public. But there's other opportunities. There's interacting with the public during forums and events. There's the process of judicial elections, during which candidates are required to go and intermingle with the community and explain to them not only what the courts do, but what is important and what are those issues facing them right now. And that's an opportunity I've taken great advantage of, and I look forward to continuing if elected.
Thank you. Mr. Lanise, you will get the next question first. What is your philosophy, about a Superior Court judge's role in what is your philosophy about alternative dispute resolution? In what cases should it be encouraged, and in what cases is it inappropriate prior to trial?
Alternative dispute resolution is a critical tool that we use not only as courts to help reduce the costs of trials going to court, but also to help people feel more complete and happier with outcomes that result from lawsuits that are filed or actions that are initiated in court. These are typically taking the form of mediations between parties. Currently, with respect to civil lawsuits in Thurston County Superior Court, there is an alternative dispute resolution requirement. No case can go to trial until there's been some form of mediation or something similar. There's a similar requirement during settlement conferences that are a form of mediation in our family law cases as well. I think we've been a great leader in Thurston County in terms of developing those efforts, and I think we've seen some great results due to that. But I think there's more that we can do. I think that we can help identify issues in civil cases through status conferences during complex litigation, that we can help identify when and how and where alternative dispute resolution can be effective. That's something I've seen done to great effect in other counties, helping more actively manage litigation to help navigate parties towards alternative dispute resolution. Because when parties are able to resolve cases outside of the courtroom, although everyone feels usually like they've lost a little bit, they also feel like they've had control over their own lives and their own destiny. And that's something, that empowerment by resolving something yourself through agreement rather than at the hands of a judge or a jury, is something that really truly is the hallmark of the current American justice system, and we should encourage that wherever possible.
Thank you. Ms. Murphy, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Dispute resolution is extremely important for a number of reasons, and I call it dispute resolution because that's the local agency we have here in Thurston County. I've had a number of clients who have participated in dispute resolution and mediation. And often one of the sayings that I hear very often from one of our mediators is that when individuals come together or go into a courtroom for a trial, they're faced with feeling as though they're right. And that's the worst scenario you can have. Our dispute resolution gives the individuals an opportunity to resolve these issues at their choosing, where they both can feel as though they've walked away with some measure of success. There are many cases where dispute resolution is not appropriate, and that's where we have individuals who have been the subject of domestic violence, who have been, there's been criminal actions between the two of them, and I have actually participated in some of those mediations where we had to ensure the safety of individuals. Some of those, no, not at all. One of them was an individual who I was representing, what's called pro bono, free of charge, and her husband had attempted to have her murdered. Those are not the kind of cases that are going to resolve through a mediation or dispute resolution process, and public safety is the most important.
Thank you. Mr. Lenise, you will get, I'm sorry, Ms. Murphy, you will get the first question now, first shot at the question. What is your philosophy about the use of alternative courts, such as mental health court or drug court? How and when should cases be referred to these special courts?
Thurston County has a number of special courts, or what we call therapeutic courts. We have our DUI court, drug court, mental health court, veterans court. These provide the individuals an opportunity, if they enter into the program, they essentially are informing the court and the prosecuting authority that they're accepting full responsibility. While in the process, it's very stringent. They're defendants often, but they are required to appear in court initially 2 times a week, and then once a week, and then eventually just monthly, depending on their progress. It's a 2-year program, but at the end of that 2-year program, they have the opportunity to have the criminal matter removed from their record. The benefit of therapeutic courts is twofold, well, besides just 2, but we end up with individuals who have their needs assessed, such as mental health care. We have individuals who have gone through chemical dependency treatment. And as a result, the recidivism rate is much, much lower than if these individuals had simply gone through the criminal justice system. So we're looking at a form of rehabilitation, and we're also looking at keeping those costs down for housing individuals in our facilities, our jails. So the benefit is very high. It does take court time. It does take our judges to participate in these programs, and we have an amazing bench that has gone above and beyond in ensuring that. So I myself have attended mental health and drug court graduations, and then I was fortunate enough to see them also graduate from the community college that same week.
Thank you. Mr. Lanise, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's all right, thank you.
Sure.
I also strongly support our therapeutic courts in Thurston County. We've been very fortunate to be even a nationwide leader in Thurston County in terms of identifying and implementing therapeutic courts in both our superior and district courts. These are courts where they recognize the fact that oftentimes there's an underlying issue that drives the criminal behavior that is at issue. And if you don't address those underlying issues, whether it's substance abuse or whether it's mental illness, that's when someone is simply removed from society, placed in prison or jail, then returned to society, the same thing is likely to happen and recidivism rates will be higher. We've seen great reduction in recidivism rates as we have been more firmly supportive as a community of our therapeutic courts, but there's more we can do. There are certain courts, in fact, there's no overlap between the different types of courts that we have. Some are in superior court, some are in district court. And while it doesn't make sense for there to be duplication of services in terms of having the same type of therapeutic court in superior and district court, we can collaborate better as a community between the courts to make sure that there's the opportunity to coordinate so that everyone, regardless of the types of crime they have, if they are susceptible to treatment, that they have access to these therapeutic courts, which serves them better, serves our community better, and keeps us safer in the end.
Thank you. Ms. Murphy, would you please respond? Oh, you just, okay, sorry. Mr. Lanise, you get the next question first. Do you think that courts can render an opinion about the legality of a ballot issue prior to its appearance on the ballot? If so, why? And if not, why not?
So this is a complex legal issue that I've been fortunate enough to work on during my time at the Attorney General's office. And there are different types of layers to that question. The first instance is whether or not the court is allowed to render an opinion as to the appropriateness of the title of the initiative or referendum. That is something that the sole authority lies within the Thurston County Superior Court, and there's no right to appeal from that. Superior Court judges in Thurston County have complete and utter discretion as to what the title of a ballot initiative or referendum will be, and there's no right to seek review of that decision, which is one of the many reasons Thurston County Superior Court judges are very important in our state. Additionally, though, there are different types of issues that might be addressed when looking at a ballot title, initiative, referendum before it goes on the ballot. One is whether or not the underlying issue is one that's appropriate for consideration during an initiative or referendum. We recently saw an opinion in Thurston County Superior Court concerning the Opportunity for Olympia initiative, which is something because we as candidates, if elected, would be called upon to decide other issues we can't talk about at length, but that's an example where the court at the trial court level held that it was inappropriate for this issue because of its nature to be on the ballot as the subject of an initiative. That was later overturned by the Court of Appeals. But there are other types of issues as well, such as whether or not the underlying law is constitutional if passed. And that's something our Supreme Court has repeatedly held is premature to do, and the issue is not yet ripe, is the expression they use, until they see if the ballot initiative actually passes, because there's no reason to delve into those complex constitutional issues without first seeing if it's going to be an issue because the people decide to pass it. And to rule otherwise before there is actually an issue before the court is another form of judicial activism, which I would very much avoid doing if elected.
Thank you. Ms. Murphy.
I agree that the name or the title of the ballot is one that the courts will engage in, and it's limited to that, much for the same reason as what Mr. Lanise just explained. An officer, judicial officer, a judge, must be impartial. They cannot have any information or express how they would decide on matters. And so until that issue is what they call ripe, it can't come before the court. But initiatives, I think, are important. Gives the public the opportunity to essentially create law. The judges, on the other hand, the judicial branch, has to stand back and allow that to happen, and then only after the people have made a decision, then can they review that and make a ruling on those issues.
Thank you. I would ask the teleprompter to be put on now. If not, I can proceed. This is the time for closing statements. And since Mr. Lanise had first shot at the last question, Ms. Murphy, would you please proceed? And you have 2 minutes. Oh, you have 1 minute. I'm sorry. I have no script.
Thank you. I have a history of deciding cases from the bench. I am the only candidate with judicial experience. I have 10 years as a judge pro tem and now a Superior Court Commissioner pro tem. I have spent a large amount of my legal experience in Thurston County courts. I have been in a courtroom both as a litigator and as a judicial officer. I believe that a Superior Court judge is essentially the voice of the people. And I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Lanise.
Thank you. I am deeply committed to serving this community. Thurston County is my home. My family roots in the South Sound date back to 1891, and my wife and I are raising our 4 children here in Olympia. My children attend public schools where I've served in leadership positions to help make sure that all children have access to a great education and the services and support they deserve. I've also served on the boards of important local organizations such as the Family Support Center, the YMCA, and the Thurston County Bar Association to help ensure that Thurston County remains strong, resilient, and healthy. Now, due to my unique combination of public service and broad experience, I've been fortunate to receive the overwhelming support of local leaders in our legal community. I'm honored to be endorsed by the entire Supreme Court, 9 former Thurston County Superior Court judges, Sheriff John Snaza, Prosecuting Attorney John Thunheim, the past 3 attorneys general, and over 100 local attorneys. In fact, when local Thurston County attorneys were asked which candidate they preferred in this race, they chose me by over a 2-to-1 margin over my opponent. And I ask to have your vote as well in November. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our forum. Thank you both very much. Good luck.
Thank you.